Pocahontas. Pocahontas was a Native American woman whose story became one of the most well-known legends in early American history. She belonged to the Powhatan people and lived in the region that is now known as Virginia in the early 17th century. Her real name was Matoka, but she was commonly called Pocahontas, a nickname that meant playful one or mischievous child. She was the daughter of the powerful leader Powhatan, the chief of a large group of indigenous tribes in the area. In 1607, English settlers arrived and founded the colony of Jamestown. The settlers struggled to survive because they were unfamiliar with the land and faced shortages of food and resources. Tensions between the colonists and the indigenous communities were common, as both groups tried to protect their territories and survive in a changing environment. One of the English leaders in Jamestown was John Smith. According to a popular story he later told, he was captured by warriors from the Powhatan Confederacy. Smith claimed that during this event, Pocahontas saved his life by placing herself between him and the warriors who were about to execute him. Historians still debate whether this event happened exactly as Smith described, but the story became an important part of the Pocahontas legend. Reading comprehension questions. Who was Pocahontas and what was her real name? What story did John Smith tell about Pocahontas? Vocabulary questions. What does the word nickname mean? What does shortage mean in the context of the settlers' situation? Simple past questions. What year did the English settlers arrive in Jamestown? Who captured John Smith according to the story? What did Pocahontas do to save John Smith? After this encounter, Pocahontas is believed to have visited Jamestown several times. She sometimes brought food to the settlers and helped create a temporary period of peace between the English colonists and her people. At that time, she was still a young girl, possibly around 10 or 11 years old. Her visits helped reduce tensions and allowed both groups to communicate more easily. However, the peace between the settlers and the Powhatan people did not last forever. As the English colony grew, conflicts over land and resources increased. In 1613, Pocahontas was captured by the English during a conflict between the two groups. She was held by the colonists as a way to pressure her father and the Powhatan Confederacy during negotiations. While she was living with the English settlers, Pocahontas learned about English culture and Christianity. She eventually converted to Christianity and was given the name Rebecca. During this time, she met an English colonist named John Rolfe. The two later developed a relationship that would change the course of her life. Reading comprehension questions. How did Pocahontas help the settlers during her visits to Jamestown? Why did the English capture Pocahontas? What important changes happened in Pocahontas' life while she lived with the English? Vocabulary questions. What does the word conflict mean? What does convert mean in the context of religion? Simple past questions. What did Pocahontas bring to the settlers? Who captured Pocahontas in 1613? What new name did she receive after converting to Christianity? In 1614, Pocahontas and John Rolfe were married. Their marriage helped create a period of peace between the English colonists and the Powhatan Confederacy that lasted for several years. This time became known as the Peace of Pocahontas. because the relationship between the two cultures temporarily improved. Ring. A few years later, Pocahontas and John Rolfe traveled to London in England. The English government and the Virginia Company of London presented her as an example of the success of the colony and its efforts to convert and educate indigenous peoples. She attended social events and met many important people in English society. Performing arts. During her stay in England, Pocahontas also met John Smith again, whom she had believed to be dead. Their meeting was emotional and complicated, showing how much her life had changed since her childhood in Virginia. Despite the attention she received in England, Pocahontas may have felt far from her homeland and culture. Reading comprehension questions. What effect did the marriage between Pocahontas and John Rolfe have? Why did Pocahontas travel to London? Who did Pocahontas meet again in England? Vocabulary questions. What does the word marriage mean? What does presented mean in the context of the English government showing Pocahontas? Simple past questions. Who did Pocahontas marry in 1614? Where did Pocahontas travel with John Rolfe? Who did she meet again while she was in England? In 1617, while preparing to return to Virginia, Pocahontas became ill and died at a young age, possibly around 21 years old. She was buried in England, far from the land where she was born. Today, Pocahontas is remembered as a historical figure whose life reflects the complex encounters between indigenous peoples and European colonists in early American history. Reading comprehension questions. What happened to Pocahontas in 1617? Where was Pocahontas buried? Why is Pocahontas remembered today? Vocabulary questions. What does buried mean? What does the word encounters mean in the context of different cultures meeting? Simple past questions. In what year did Pocahontas die? Where was she buried? What did her life reflect about early American history?